from the universe, online healing retreats, and this program. Claim your free registration to daily shows at acoustichealth.com. acoustichealth.com, your portal to the inner realms. Our program starts shortly. Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by acoustichealth.com. I'm Melendez, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. And welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We are talking about self-love, actually. Self-love and things that keep us from self-love. And actually, we're going to even go deeper into body image, because my guest today actually saw her own emotional addiction to the story of keeping her body at odds with her own divine self. So this is a beautiful call today with my guest, Michelle Melendez. And she is a Live in a Body You Love specialist and a wellness expert. And the beautiful thing about Michelle is she's working in the fitness industry, and she actually went on her own journey of a body image, but she noticed something similar in her clients as well. And that's where the story gets spiritual or metaphysical and absolutely comes back to a story of self-love. Let's welcome Michelle Melendez to this quantum conversation. Hello, Michelle. Thank you for being here.
Aloha, Lauren. It's so great to be here, and I'm super excited to share this information. Thank you for inviting me.
We are so happy to be with you. You have a book, End Dieting Hell, How to Find Peace in Your Body and Lose the Weight. And this book comes from your decades of experience as a fitness trainer and the clients that you work with. But there is a personal story as you help people overcome this emotional addiction to struggling with weight and more self-love, lack thereof. You yourself had a body image. Share your story with us.
Yeah, so I have a little bit of scoliosis. I was diagnosed with slight scoliosis when I was in my early teens. And part of my left side of my back sits a little bit behind my right. So coming into age and my breasts were starting to come in, and they were uneven, majorly uneven, and I was really, really insecure about that and self-conscious. And my clothes, my blouses wouldn't fit right on my body, and I was always looking at my breasts to see if you could tell. In fact, I have a twin sister, and she didn't have scoliosis, and so I would always ask her before we went out anywhere. I would be like, "Can you tell? Can you tell?" And she knew exactly what that meant. And this was the reason why I got into fitness, was because I hated my body. I hated my body. I saw one of my friends in high school. I saw her walking down the quad, and she was buffed and toned, and I was like, "What are you doing? You look fantastic." She was like, "I'm working out and lifting weights." So I started doing that, and I started liking the way that my body was feeling and the strength I was getting and the toneness I was getting. But still, I had this major, major insecurity about my breasts and how my body looked as a woman. And this followed me. This insecurity followed me to my 20s, to my early 30s, even after becoming a fitness professional. I became a fitness expert in 1996 and taught everything from spinning, boot camp, martial fitness, kickboxing, Swiss, you name it. I had over 12 fitness certifications and loved it, but still, even after all that, was really insecure. and even at one point felt suicidal in my late 20s, early 30s. And I became a weight loss specialist. And then it wasn't until I started researching stuff around why my weight loss clients would lose the weight and gain it back every single time. I was really frustrated, and I felt like, okay, I'm missing something here with my clients. And I didn't think that this was going to affect my own life because I didn't struggle with my weight. But I started researching, why is it that some women keep the weight off and some women struggle every single year over and over again? What is that? And why am I missing this? I'm missing something. I felt like if somebody's going to pay me to help them lose weight, and I can help them lose weight for 3 to 6 months, but then they gain it back, I didn't think that was fair. It was like you get your house painted, and 3 to 6 months later, your house is the same exact color it was before. I just didn't feel that was fair. So that's another reason I started looking for this information. And what I discovered was that, and I mostly work with women, but women who struggle or people who struggle with their weight over and over again, most of their life, are emotionally addicted to the feeling of struggling with their weight, the actual feeling. And so what I saw in that, and for myself, was, oh my gosh, I was emotionally addicted in my body, and the cells of my body were conditioned, and I was addicted to the feeling of being insecure with the way I looked and being self-conscious. That feeling was actually an emotional addiction, creating my thoughts and my behaviors. And that same feeling for women who struggle with their weight, the feeling of struggling with your weight, is sabotaging every single diet you go on. So it's not the diet or the exercise program. It's actually the emotional addiction. And that blew my mind.
Yes, okay. So the emotional addiction to the feeling, can you go a little bit more into that? What do you mean by the feeling? I mean, it's like, what did you see as you started to unravel that with your clients?
Well, it's like what I didn't know. Like being a fitness trainer, I know about the muscles and joints and all of the kind of the outer layer of the body, but the inner layer of the body, the cells of the body, we have between 50 to 70 trillion cells, and the cells are actually conscious. They actually have memory. There's actually a frequency that they know that they resonate as, that you think is you. You think, oh, that's just me. That's just who I am. That's just the way I am. Like, for instance, I said, I had a client that I live in Hawaii on the big island of Hawaii, and I do retreats, and I had a client who was at one of my retreats, and I told her, you're not a woman who struggles with her weight. And she got really mad at me. She was like, Michelle, what are you talking about? I've been struggling with my weight all my life. I said, no. I said, you're a woman who's addicted to the frequency, the emotional frequency of struggling with your weight. And what that means is that the body is alive. Like, your heart is the first organ that was created in your mother's womb, and it's been beating ever since you were born. I mean, even before you were born. Your body is alive and is conscious, and the frequencies of your emotions live in the cells of your body. This is how you know how to drive a car. It's like you first learn how to drive a car, and then all of a sudden you know how to drive the car, and you can brush your teeth and do your makeup, have breakfast, while driving the car, because your mind isn't driving it. Your body is driving the car. So what happens is every day that you get up in the morning, your body goes, what is the emotional frequency, the energy, the feeling that I'm used to having every single day? And your body will send that signal to your brain to think a thought that creates that feeling. So all of a sudden you get up in the morning and you go, this is for women who struggle with their weight. The first thing that you think of, most of my clients used to get on the scale first thing in the morning. And that anticipation right before you get on the scale, oh my God, what's it going to say? Do I get to like myself today? Do I get to hate myself? What's it going to say? That feeling is going to sabotage every single diet program you go on because it lives in the body. Does that make sense?
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
So it lives in the body. You know, this works. What we're talking about here is specifically for weight, and we're going to dive deeper into it. But literally, we can see this across other areas: money,
Yeah.
finances,
Really?
education, or your, it goes deeper. But we're going to stay focused on what you just said there, getting on the scale. So what do you do then to shift that feeling because it's in the body? How do you break out?
Yeah. The first thing you have to do is you have to recognize it without trying to fix it. So here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with any of us. Each one of us on a soul level, and I love what you're about. Quantum Conversations is exactly what this work is about, because the quantum field, the field of the space, the empty space that surrounds us, is a quantum field. So our souls actually live in this quantum space. And so before we came here, I feel, and the research I've done has shown me that each one of us has chosen to come here at a certain time to be born, at a certain location on the planet. The time to be born actually created started to create your personality. The parents that you were born to also started to create your personality, because the vibrational frequency of your parents, it goes into the fetus, goes into you, and then you have your own personal human experiences that also create your personality. But your lineage, your ancestral lineage, is in your body, in the cells. The frequency of the trauma that is your parents and your grandparents is inside of you. So this is why a lot of times people who are overweight like to have parents that are overweight or grandparents that are overweight and struggling with their body image. And it goes down the lineage. They actually, and I'll answer, and I know I haven't answered your question yet, Lauren, but this kind of was like, oh, I have to share this part as well. They did a study on mice around to see about lineage and to see about can rodents, can their offspring have the same, be trained the same way that their parents were without the stimulus. So example is they did a study on these mice with cherry blossoms, and every time a cherry blossom was in their cage, they got a shock, the parent, these adult mice. And then their offspring actually had the same exact feeling toward the cherry blossom without being shocked, because the energy, the conditioned pattern got into the offspring. So that is a lineage thing with our ancestors. So how we fix this or change this is the very first thing you have to realize is there's nothing wrong with you, and there is nothing to fix. There's actually, I call it integration. So when you're feeling that way, like feeling frustrated, I can't lose weight, or whatever the feeling is, the very first thing you've got to do is recognize that it's a frequency in the body, that's an emotion in the body, and there's nothing to fix about it or make right or wrong or good or bad. If you try to fix it, and some people call it healing, I like to call it integration, because the work I do, and I'll give you guys a practice that you can do to integrate this feeling into all that you are, into the wholeness that you are, because you struggling with your weight, feeling there's something wrong with you, feeling not good enough, that is keeping you separate. So when you feel that feeling, I'm struggling with my weight and I don't like my body, you let yourself feel it. You literally fully accept that it's a frequency in your body. And what happens is that's the very first thing you've got to do. And I put my hands on my heart when I'm feeling in my own trauma and I'm feeling the frequency. The first thing I do is put my hands on my heart and I breathe into it, and I literally really say outright and out loud, it's okay, I'm feeling this way. I recognize this feeling. This is a normal human feeling. And then what will happen automatically, as soon as you just let it, recognize that it's there without trying to fix it, what will happen automatically is your body will take a deep breath. And all of a sudden you'll exhale, and the frequency in your body will lighten up. And that's the first step of this work.
Yes, okay. I think that we can actually look in our lives at situations that we get in and feel that and feel that frequency. And just as you were saying that, I could feel others on this call taking a deep breath and releasing a lot of that. So it's integration. It really is integration where we are recognizing the feeling, but we are not getting into a situation where we're trying to fix it. We're letting it be, and then we're commanding our space. And so this is really our topic today, what we're talking about as we integrate the trauma, the emotional trauma, and talk a little bit about how far do we have to go into recognizing that it's happening for us just when we're feeling bad about ourselves, right? Or do we know the exact cause?
We don't need to know the exact cause, but what happens is this integration work, you become aware more of yourself. So you start to understand yourself on a higher level. So here's the other thing I want to share on this call that's very, very important is the programming of all of the media and the television shows and the movies that are out there have programmed us to not feel good enough, to think there's something wrong with us unless we buy this product or get on that, look a certain way. That is programming ever since we were little kids, in the cartoons we watched, the movies, all of it. So what you want to realize is that who you are, you're so much more than that. And who you are, exactly who you are, the personality that you have is okay. And this work has you actually understanding yourself on a deeper level, because only you are the only person in the entire universe who really knows what you've been through. You're the only person who was a child and went through all the trauma, neglect, and everything. Like, I had a lot of neglect when I was growing up. You're the only person who really gets you. And when you actually do this work, this integration work, you start to have so much compassion and understanding for yourself. And then the trauma that you've had with parents or relationships, you can actually see them on a completely different level, and that gives you freedom. And you start to open up to you'll start to actually experience peace around whatever trauma you've been through. And this is not saying what you did was okay. It's actually acknowledging what you went through as a human experience, that your body, because your body, check this out, your body, every single emotion you've ever had in your entire life is still in your body. Your body remembers every single itty-bitty little thing you've gone through, from the smallest thing to the largest emotional trauma, everything. So when you do this work, you start to understand yourself on a deeper level, have compassion for yourself, give yourself a break that you don't have to fix yourself. You don't have to have this certain product or whatever to be happy. You actually start to find peace just by being you. And then this work, what's beautiful about this work too is that you start to see other people, and when they act a certain way that you may or may not like, you start to see that as, oh my gosh, that's that person's trauma that's creating that personality, that reaction to what I just said. Like, so it's such a deeper level, and this is the awakening I feel that's happening on the planet, is we're awakening to who we truly are, and we're letting ourselves be okay to be okay without needing to fix ourselves or try or think that there's something wrong with us, because there truly is not anything wrong with us. And the last thing I want to share around this piece of this work is this, and this is going to go a little bit into Jesus. Jesus. I don't, you can be Christian or not, but this is just a story I want to share. Before he was crucified, the night before he was in the garden, and he said to God, he said, I can't remember the exact phrase, but he said, take this from me if you can, because he was in third dimension. He was a human being, and it was something I feel that, being crucified has got to be the most terrifying thing on the whole planet. So, but the reason why he did that was because of unconditional love for us. But here's the thing, friend, sister, brother, you came to this world at this time in history because of unconditional love that you have for your ancestral family that you were born into, and the unconditional love you have for yourself and everyone on the planet. Even if you can't feel that unconditional love, your soul had so much love for humanity that it said, I'm going to go and be born to these parents at this time in history, go through this trauma. So I feel your soul knew the major trauma it would go through. And I'm going to integrate the trauma back into the wholeness of who I am so that I can feel that bring back love into the planet at this time in history. And I feel that that's each one of our journeys is to integrate that. And no matter where you're at on this journey, if you're just starting off and you're just listening to this going, what is she talking about? Or if you've been doing integration work, wherever you're at is exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And there's nothing wrong with you, nothing to fix. Your soul came here out of unconditional love for humanity, especially your ancestors that you came from, your lineage.
Yes, so beautiful. We said we could do it. I think that resonates with every heart who's listening, that absolutely we came because of unconditional love. We've interviewed people who've had near-death experiences, and they return to the body for love. It's quite amazing and beautiful, and that is comforting. We certainly hope that's comforting. We know that there's situations out there that they bring us to our knees at times. It's very tragic. It's sad, but this integration is what we said we could do. So it's almost like you want to say happy integrating. And that's hard for someone, say, for example, who loses a child. That's right. That's got to be so painful. So that is emotional trauma there. And I know that you've got a couple of ways to integrate that. For someone who's got heavy duty trauma, are there any other suggestions on really being with that and clearing it out? Integrating.
Yes. Yeah, integrating it. So first, like I said, you have to recognize it as a frequency, as an emotion in the body. So that trauma of losing a child, which has to be one of the most painful things. I believe in soul contracts, and I believe that each one of us had said, okay, I'm going to come, and I'm going to, this is the experience that we're going to have together. And that child that is here for a short time and then leaves, what if that was a soul contract for that parent, even though that's so hard to think. And it's like on a third dimension level where we're at, people go, no way, that would never happen. On a third dimension, yeah, no way. But we are just here for a short time in this third dimension, and our souls are moving, and our spirits and our bodies, really the planet right now is moving toward the fourth and fifth dimension, which is a higher frequency. But if you think about it like a soul contract, that this was an experience, because that's all anything is. Anything and everything is an experience. And you breathe into that, and you don't have to like it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to think that it's okay, because it's not okay to lose a child. That is the most painful thing in the world, and it's a human experience. So you let your body and your soul are having human experiences. That's why we came, not because we were going to have, live happy, happy, joy, joy on the planet. That's what we all want, but we actually came here as a school to go through the trauma and to have experiences, to experience things. Because when we die, like your near-death experience, death, probably, I would assume, and the people who I know of near-death experience have all said, there is a love that is beyond imagining as a human being, and that's where we return to, because that is the frequency that started the whole universe, including us, and that's where we return to. So we don't know that love on a third dimension level, but it's inside of us. It's there. So when you have that trauma come up, the first thing you do, again, put your hands on your heart and recognize the frequency. It's not about making it right. It's about recognizing this is the human experience I'm having right now. And what you want to do, your breath is really, really important, because when you're in fear, anger, or any trauma, you hold your breath. We breathe shallow. When we're in stress, we breathe shallow. So you want to do a full Buddha belly breathing into your body, and you have to have the body a part of this. It's like a friend of mine who's really in his mind kept, I can think about it. No, you can't think about emotional integration. You have to feel it in your body. So your hands on your heart. You recognize this is the emotion I'm feeling right now. This is the human experience I'm feeling right now. I'm really angry that my child left. I'm really angry my child was killed, or however, whatever happened. And you breathe into fully recognizing the feeling. And then what will happen is the whole body will start to lighten up. And you recognize this is my this is my current, recent human experience right now. And you breathe into this, you breathe into it. So your breath is the second part. So the first part is the recognition of the emotional frequency, because that's all emotions are. They're just a frequency, because we are light beings who have forgotten that we are light beings. So the first thing is recognizing the emotional frequency that you're having in your body. The second one is to breathe. You have to breathe Buddha belly breath into the body. And then the third part of this is to understand that somewhere on a higher level, your soul said, I'm going to go through this experience. So having compassion for yourself in experiencing that. So those are the three things that starts the integration trauma work. Is the first one, recognizing it's an emotional frequency in the body. The second one, breathe deeply into your body, like fully. In fact, what I have clients do is I say, okay, where is the feeling? If the feeling was the roots of a tree, where would the roots be of that feeling of loss or anger, whatever that is? Where are the roots? It's usually in the solar plexus, in the belly, or even lower, the first energy center, second energy center, usually the second or third energy center of the body. Breathe into it like you're trying to expand it, and literally feel that frequency expand through the limbs of your body. And a lot of clients, they don't want to do that, but that's actually the key, because remember what I said earlier, is the empty space that's around us is the quantum field. You're breathing into the frequency of that emotion, which is loss or grief. You're breathing into it, and with your breath, you expand it. It goes out of your limbs and then goes out into the quantum field and starts to dissolve. And that's what starts to bring in peace.
Yes, okay, we can feel that. And I can actually visualize it in the quantum field dissolving. That's a good word. Another word that comes to mind is disentanglement, right?
Yeah.
It becomes untangled. Wow. Okay, so isn't it amazing, the power of the breath? And the breath is spirit, and the breath is presence. And so something so simple can truly make a shift in a minute. And I think that the most important thing is that, or probably the biggest step, is the recognition of it. Would you say, what percentage would you say of the work would that be? Would you say like 70%, 90%? right? You know, first recognizing, because we could just keep looping around in a time cycle, not recognizing it.
Yeah, I would say, 80 to 90% easy, because what happens is you think that's who you are. You think you're going throughout your day, and then also you have these thoughts and these feelings, and you start to react, and your reaction is coming from the trauma in your body, and you don't even realize it. You just think, oh, that's just who I am, that's just my personality, but it's not. It's coming from trauma, and so the hardest part is to pause. I'm feeling angry right now, and you're breathing into that and recognizing it. That first part of recognizing that this is a normal human experience. Normal human experience. Everybody in the world has felt, all the feelings that we experience as a human being. Normal, that's what I say too. This is normal. This is a normal human experience. I recognize it. So it's beautiful, Lauren.
That is good. I want to give a few examples because it really helps us to integrate what you're saying. Here we are in our pandemic world, and old patterns have broken. That is a silver lining. People were getting out of that busy, go here, do this. But also there's other things that come up. I've talked with a lot of close friends on this journey, and last year of 2020 seemed to be a pressure cooker where we could get triggered easier or more quickly. This is what we're talking about here. And so to see the trigger, and for example, if we're kind of getting, if people are in the house, now things are starting to open up and move, and we can all feel things moving, and it's better. But if we're feeling a little irritated or we get perturbed, that feeling right there, I want to just clarify that this is when you said that this is normal, because so many of us would say, wow, we would start to judge ourselves for feeling angry or getting perturbed. Right? That could be one direction that people take. So to be able to say, this is normal, normal, that, it validates that feeling. Like, no, there's, like you said, there's nothing to fix. Like, because our mind could say, where's this anger coming from? Right? And try to analyze it that way. But what you said is, just by that simple action, this is normal. This is a normal human feeling that recognizes the frequency. Beautiful.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. Because so many times, especially as light workers and positive people, and this was, I was someone who was always in positive affirmations. Okay, I don't want to talk about that. Oh, cancel. That was me. And what I didn't realize was I was stopping my own emotional expansion, emotional growth, I call it expansion, to fully integrating everything that I am. Those dark places that us light workers want to pretend isn't there, that's where the actual empowerment comes from, even more positive. So it's like, Yeah, does that make sense? Around that, you're hearing what I'm saying.
Yeah, and okay, there's good news. There are some who report on our show that they are done with emotional triggers, and that's a good thing, because when we can all get there, it's beautiful. Because would you say that once we begin to recognize this, then there's like an accelerated way that we're able to move through other triggers that come up.
Absolutely. If they're done with emotional triggers, that means they've done the integration work, and they can actually, instead, because all a trigger is an emotional trauma in your body that comes up because of a certain event. And that emotional trauma is up to show you yourself and how you're reacting to something, and that's a trauma that needs to be integrated. That's what that is. So if someone is not having triggers, that means that they they have integrated the trauma that they've experienced, and now when the same situation comes up again, they can see it in a new way. It's not the same pattern. So if you're having the same reaction to a person or an event, it's because of an emotional trauma that is in your body, lives in your body, that you have not recognized yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just your journey. And it's each one of our journeys to go through the integration of trauma. Being a human being, we have trauma. That's the nature of humans. Before you're born, your body is experiencing trauma because of what your mother feels as you're in her. So somebody who is no longer triggered by things, that's a lot of work on their part to emotional integrate the trauma that used to run them, because that's what traumas do. They run us. And then it's like people get angry and they have these stories that run over and over and over in their head for days or weeks or months, and they don't realize that that's coming from trauma. They think it's the person or the experience or the event. It's not. It's actually an emotional trauma from your past that hasn't been integrated.
Wow. All right. And your work is, because you've done this in your own life, this is how you help all of the clients that you work with. It really is important to not judge ourselves or not judge the trauma. Going back to kind of what we were saying about light workers, and when we feel that pain or the anger, not to judge ourselves for it, or not to try to explain away the trauma, again, because some of it's from the ancestors that we can feel. So, wow. All right. So we're getting rid of the triggers. And I want to say, if there's those who are listening, if you have a question for our guest today, Michelle is here to answer them. All right. I know that there is some questions coming up. If you're on the phone, *2 will allow you to raise your hand and you can ask a question, or you can jump on the web call. Very good. I want you to share with us how people can work with you. You work with clients and you actually help them adjust to this new perspective, which is absolutely life-changing. When you work with clients one-on-one, let's go back to what you shared about the clients who were able to actually lose weight and keep the weight off. Why did they keep the weight off? What did you discover about that then? They were free of these traumas. Did you notice that first, or was that revealed by the people who didn't have that happen?
Well, what happened was when I started helping people lose weight and they weren't keeping it off, and I started learning about emotional addiction, what I realized is that they actually don't ever, it's not that you're free of it. It's actually that you fully accept that it's a part of you, that trauma lives inside of you. And what happens is there's a different feeling around it. Instead of it triggering you to around your, struggling with your weight, instead of it triggering you, it's like you feel it. Oh, there's that feeling again. And I talk to it like this, because I have my own emotional traumas and around different things. And I put my hands on my heart and I go, oh, there you are. Like I said, I was raised and I was neglected a lot. My parents divorced when I was 15, and they both left the house, and they made sure there was food in the fridge, but they were never home. So there's a lot of neglect. So anytime I'm feeling like, neglect, I just put my hands on my heart, or lonely, I put my hands on my heart and I just go, oh, there you are. There you are. I know you're there. And I talk to it like it's a person, because it's part of me. And I said, I love to say, guess what? I love to say, guess what? Because it lightens up the feeling already. And I say, guess what? I'm not trying to fix you. This feeling that feels alone, I'm not trying to fix you. There's nothing right or wrong or good or bad about you. I recognize that you're here. And I breathe into my body, full deep breath, and that starts to lighten it up. And then I'm able to, that brings peace into my body, and then I'm able to have a different experience and a different thought. But here's the thing I want to share with your listeners. You're never free of it. It doesn't go away. It actually integrates as a part of you. And then what happens is you can have compassion for yourself, for the young part of you, the little kid or young adult or teenager that had to experience that. And then this is why the work is about understanding exactly who you are and just fully getting yourself. Like, you get yourself better than anybody else on the planet already. You understand what you've gone through better than anybody. And with this work, what'll happen is you'll start to have more compassion for everything you've gone through and more understanding and less self-hatred, less self-doubt, because all of a sudden you're going to start to go, oh, that's just that's a part of me. It's not all of me, it's a part of me, and you breathe into it. And when you breathe into it, that is the shift. And that's the freedom and that's the peace that you've been wanting anyway. So a lot of the work that, yeah. Did that answer your question, Lauren?
Well, that is so beautiful. And again, I want to just point out the simplicity of it. I think, again, the hardest part or the biggest step, let's say, would be that recognition of that pattern, right? And so beautiful, just really accept the trauma, that it's part of you, and that you are loving that part of you and feeling into it literally by understanding that feeling. That understanding and breathing with it is the shift in the feeling. Yes, you have shared with us how we bring the feeling of peace within. And this can go towards, it expresses as, it could be emotional eating, right?
Yep.
It could be expressed as that. It could be expressed as depression.
Yeah.
So for even someone experiencing, woe is me, having a pity party, we go through those, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's anger fits, sometimes it's crying fits, but this is something that can be used for that as well, and in a transmutable way.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one thing I want to say about depression. Most all of us, what's happening on the global scale with the vaccine, the virus, and all of it, most of us have experienced some type of depression, including myself. Mm-hmm. And so I literally use this work. It's like, if this is okay to feel this way, our lives have literally changed, and it's okay. Normal human feeling. This is a normal human feeling, and I breathe into it, and I let myself feel it with my breath. Because this is each one of us, this time that we're going through is heavy, and each one of us is one of the bravest souls ever to come on the planet right now, to be here.
And we all raised our hand and said we could do it. I feel like crying right now because we said we could do it. And that I hope that gives everyone this inspiration, really. I hope that comforts, because we knew we could do it. We know we can do it. We are doing it.
We're not alone. We're not alone. We have guides and our intuition, that's coming from the quantum field. So when you do this work, what happens is your intuition starts to increase, because no longer is it coming from your trauma. Your thoughts and your feelings and your behaviors are not coming from your trauma when you do integration work, but you're able to feel, what's next for you. Oh, that's what I'm supposed to do next. Oh, and it's not coming, you don't have your trauma in the way of that channel. So that's why this work is really important for that. And one last thing I want to share around that, when you judge yourself, oh, I'm not doing this right, integrate that. I'm not doing this right. It's not right or wrong or good or bad. That part of me, it's okay that you're here. Normal human experience, normal human feeling that I'm not doing this right. The judgment. So, because a lot of times, especially as light workers, I've definitely been there as well.
Well, it was interesting that you shared on Jesus today, because we were, my husband and I were chatting about him this morning and wondering about judgment. Jesus, and we've talked about this before on this show, Fifth dimensional frequencies, the fifth dimension, the energy that is the fifth dimension, that is New Earth, there is no room for judgment. And so we need to integrate our judgment of others and ourselves. And I love that phrase that you just gave, Michelle, integrate that. That should be a slogan. Yeah. Integrate that. And sometimes you have to say, thanks, I'm glad I could help you integrate that. Or thank you for helping me integrate that. If people are the ones who are the triggers for us, you know. So that's a little humorous, fun way to lighten it up a bit. But wow, there is a lot of shifting going on. And wow, I just feel that this is a really important tool, that anything that we're going through, this is a normal human feeling. No matter if we feel like we're all alone, this is a normal human feeling. It validates the feeling. And then the feeling it with the breath. Literally, you can feel where you're not breathing in, right? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and these emotions, they're also ages. So the next thing that another step in this work is to ask it what age it is. If you have certain trauma that's been with you most of your life, ask it what age it is, and breathe into that. And that's then there's a full piece around that. But because all of the parts of you, ever since you were a little baby till this present moment, are still inside of you. So it's really important to recognize every single part of you. And that last piece of compassion for yourself, that's another really important piece, because we used to have compassion for other people or animals, but what about you? You know, you have gone through so much. You've experienced a lot of trauma growing up, teenage years, you know, young adult years, and it's not over. This next year, you know, we're in this together, everyone, and we do, like Lauren said, we can do this. We raised our hands to be here, and we can integrate this in our awakening the planet.
Yes, and thank you everyone for going through this work, doing this deep inner work, and then turning and helping others. I envision a world free of trauma, and it's going to accelerate when we do it within our own lives. So I do see that world, and it is beautiful. I want to share that when you were speaking of the compassion for yourself, when we have compassion for ourselves, wow, doesn't that feel like a higher self connection? That is our higher self cultivating the compassion for us. And just when you were speaking about that, I just really felt that higher self connection. So when we feel compassion within ourselves, that is from our higher self.
Yes, absolutely. Because that first piece of recognizing, that's the shift. That's the third dimension. You're starting to shift it. Then your breath, you're breathing in the quantum field. When the quantum field, you know, this empty space, which Joseph Campbell said 1 cubic centimeter of this empty space, if we could harness the energy, could boil all of the oceans in the world. That's the breath. That's what we breathe into our bodies. We're breathing in infinite possibilities. That's what we're breathing into our bodies. So breathe that breath, and then that last bit of compassion, you are, like you just said, connecting with your higher self, because that is coming from your higher self. It's so beautiful.
Yes, so beautiful. So happy transformation and integration, everyone. This is a beautiful tool from Michelle Melendez that we can use on so many. You know what? It's almost like a tool to shift us into 5D. Absolutely. It's a 5D shifter. Shift into 5D with this beautiful little tool here. All right, Michelle, I want to have you share on ways that people can work with you. There's a special offer that you have, and this includes a couple of courses, ways that people can study offline based on these teachings, but there's also a personal session with you.
Yeah. So there's 3 different programs. One is the 7 Universal Laws. If you're interested in learning more about your energy centers and how your chakras and the energy centers affect your life, that is definitely something that you want to look at. It's 7 Universal Laws, and Lauren has that in the package. There's also a workshop I did here on the Big Island. It was a 2.5-hour workshop around emotional integration. So you'll actually go deeper into this work, and you will do an actual practice that I take people through. I think it was about a 30-minute integration practice, and that's included in the package as well. The last thing that's included is a home study course of Live in a Body You Love. So if you've struggled with your weight most of your life, if you are tried every single diet on the planet and you're still wondering why this doesn't work for you, that would be a good program. It's a home study course of Live in a Body You Love. And then all of that, there's a special, Lauren, I think I'll let you say how you guys have categorized it out. But I am doing private one-on-ones. When you do a private one-on-one with me, you will actually get to understand where your emotional trauma comes from. You're going to see your life in a completely different way than you've ever thought that you could see it before. Because most of us have an idea of everything we've gone through and have an idea of who we are, but that's only from trauma. If you can imagine seeing your life without trauma, with integrating that trauma, it's going to be you'll have a different experience of yourself, and that's a private session with me. And Lauren, I'll give it to you to explain the packages that you've set up.
Oh, yes, thank you. So we have there's 3 options here. Option 1 is those 7 universal laws with the workshop. And then the second option is the additional course, Live in a Body That You Love. And then the third option includes everything with that personal session. And again, I want to say that this tool that you've given us, think of it, it's multifaceted. We use it to clear out the triggers, to clear out the emotion, to integrate the trauma, the emotional trauma. Can you see how when we flip it to manifest, we can manifest with it as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Once we get past the trauma.
And manifestation is happening quicker and quicker these days, because the frequency of the planet and the frequency of our own bodies has elevated to a new level. So that's why this work like this is really important, because when it's just a freedom. It's just a total freedom that people are ready to have, and they're supposed to have.
And I feel it's coming more and more for everyone. So beautiful. All right. Well, thank you for helping people integrate these triggers in such a profound way. It's quite sublime, and it is quantum. It is amazing. And it works with the breath. Consciousness, the breath, and our own self-love. Isn't that amazing?
Amen to that. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for the work that you do, Michelle. Your special offer is here on this webpage, and we invite our listeners to check it out and work with Michelle. She is a beautiful guide for you on your journey. If we've ever caught ourselves in emotional eating, I've done that myself. I'm guilty of that. And it does make us look at, wow, look at this. We start to see the trend. We might start to see the pattern before we start to see the emotional trigger. That could be another clue into all of this too, right? Seeing a pattern first.
Yeah, that is exactly key. Yeah. Because one of the patterns with my ladies who struggle with their weight is the fact that they self-sabotage. Why do I keep self-sabotaging? That's from trauma. That's from a trauma of not feeling good enough, of not liking your body, there's something there. And but yeah, you're right. So the patterns are definitely key.
There's something there. And again, I want to reiterate what you shared about not needing to go into it, not to drill down so deeply into it that you identify the cause or the ancestor, but just identifying that feeling that's coming up in our body. We just need to recognize that feeling and breathe through it. So beautiful.
Amen. And thank you so much for having me, Lauren. I wish you so much aloha, and everyone who's listening. Thank you so much for your bravery to be here right now at this time on the planet. It's not a mistake that you came. It's not a mistake. The personality, your frequency of who you are is actually needed on the planet right now. And it's not a mistake that you live in a certain location. Like, I was literally called here to the Big Island. There's a whole story around that. But it's not a mistake that you're wherever you're at. The frequency of who you are matters, and it makes a difference on the planet. And when you integrate your trauma, and you're going to be vibrating at an even higher level, seeing yourself in a whole new way, that helps awaken everyone on the planet. So thank you so much for your bravery to go through whatever it is you went through in your life, the trauma that you've experienced. I have so much gratitude for the little you, the little girl or boy in you, all the way up to your present time. So much mahalo and aloha.
Michelle Melendez, thank you so much for this quantum conversation and this beautiful tool that provides self-love and compassion in our lives that we cultivate from within. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
And now it is time to dance our way to the cosmic heart. See if you can feel into this as you integrate our show today. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.